We would not pretend in any way, shape, or form to think that we have the answers to everything.
I love our community, and I think we've got a great community, and we've got a great partnership with so many people that just absolutely refuse to let Muncie not be successful.
We begin with a dire situation at Muncie Community School.
There's been a public struggle between administrators wanting to cut costs and a teachers association that wants the district to pay the teachers their worth.
An organization called the Distressed Unit Appeals Board. Big news today regarding a potential government takeover of the district.
Takeover.
Government takeover of Muncie Community Schools.
Staying out of Senate Bill 567.
This conference committee report has passed.
I mean, being labeled financially impaired is not really a difficult thing to embrace when you've been financially impaired for years.
$3.7 million.
$5 million.
Nearly $2 million. But the plan will still leave an $11 million deficit for the foreseeable future.
That very well may be that Muncie today cannot afford all the programs that they have.
You know what roof we're going to fix in 2018? The one that leaks.
The Distressed Unit Appeals Board today voted unanimously in favor of a full takeover of Muncie Community Schools. Muncie Community Schools is once again getting the attention of the state government and could be facing another takeover. But in this case, it wouldn't be the state government taking control of the district. Instead, it could be Ball State University.
Well, House Bill 1315, the bill that would allow Ball State University to run Muncie Community Schools, as the House bill that would allow Ball State University to run Muncie Community Schools.
A recent amendment to House Bill 1315 that allows Ball State to govern Muncie schools.
In Muncie, this is permanent. There is never a way back.
This cesspool didn't happen overnight, and it's not going to be righted anytime soon.
The Senate do now sine die.
Neither body voted on the bill before the end of the 2018 assembly last night, killing Ball State's effort to manage the school system.
If Senator Lannon or Representative Arrington or Mayor Tyler have an alternative proposal, I've not seen one, but if they have one, we certainly would consider it.
We all have one thing in common. We're fighting for these kids, and we're fighting for these families because at the end of the day, that's why we're here and that's why it matters.
People are watching Muncie Community Schools very closely. What will happen next? My name is Michelle Kinsey, and before becoming Community Engagement Coordinator for Indiana Public Radio and WIPB TV, I covered education for the local Muncie newspaper for more than 5 years. That means I spent a lot of time writing about this district. The good, the bad, and of course, the budgets. This is a school district that has had its share of struggles, not unlike many others across the country. Cuts in funding, the merging of its two high schools, concerns about standardized testing, failing facilities. But it is also a school district that has plenty to be proud of. Its growing gifted and talented program, its thriving career center, its celebrated 8-step academic improvement process, its award-winning arts and music programs. But in recent months, all eyes have been on Muncie Community Schools for another reason. The temporary takeover by an emergency management team in an attempt to fix its financial problems. Beginning in the spring of 2017, Indiana Public Radio reporter Tony Sandlaben began offering balanced, regular coverage of Muncie Community Schools' financial crisis. In the fall of 2017, Tony teamed up with Daily News reporter Garrett Looker to take an in-depth look into what this crisis means for everyone in the city of Muncie. The question was simple. Why is this important?
The impact of a school in a community or a neighborhood or, is just so important.
Important because in a place like Muncie, neither the schools nor the community can stand alone. But for more than 2 decades, the city of Muncie has been in decline. Many of its past major employers are gone, and nearly 1/3 of its population lives below the poverty line.
just as a Muncie citizen, it hurt because those factories were the backbone of our community. And I don't think anybody in their right mind had any idea how we was going to replace that.
Having been now a principal here at Muncie Central, you realize that some of the luxuries that I experienced as a child were not some of the luxuries that our students have.
Yes, the world in Muncie is very different than when I came in 1970.
Chevrolet, Delco Remy, Borg Warner. When these factories all left town, the jobs left too, leading to a steady decline in enrollment in the school district. That district now faces a multi-million-dollar deficit. In 2017, Indiana Senate Bill 567 allowed the Distressed Unit Appeals Board to appoint an emergency manager to take financial control of the district. In December of 2017, that state board voted to expand the emergency manager's power, taking full control of the district away from the local school board. Further state government intervention continued in 2018 when an amendment was added to House Bill 1315 that would allow Ball State University to run the school system.
You know, and I continue as HB 1315 kind of came to the surface. I wasn't just going to just agree to anything. You know, I wanted to look closely at the details. I wanted to hear from community and stakeholder input. I wanted to hear from parents and families. And what I was hearing from people was concerns, lots of concerns. Now, I've always said I support a collaboration and partnership with Ball State and Muncie Community Schools. No doubt about it. It's happening as we speak. There's already partnerships happening. And if we want to enhance that and improve that, great, I'm all for it. It was the details of HB 1315 that I felt took advantage of our financial struggles and our particular situation that I was not comfortable with, and I've outlined that many times and the things that I disagreed with.
House Bill 1315 failed to pass during the regular session of the Indiana General Assembly. But that measure is now going to be examined in a special session that begins Monday, May 14th.
What is your long-term plan? When the emergency manager is discharged because he's finished his responsibility of bringing a balanced budget for a couple years, right? That's the statutory mandate. What's your plan now? Okay? Because if you agree with me that it's not eliminated that day of reckoning, it's just delayed it, so we can, in a year or two, we'll be able to calculate financially when that day of reckoning is going to come and how dire it will be. What is your proposal for those children? Because they're the ones that will suffer the consequences for the failure to have that long-term plan. It won't be me. It won't be other people in the community. It will be those children. And what are you going to say to them? What are you going to say to them?
Regardless of what Ball State officials believe, educators and MCS contend that Ball State does not understand the reality of what these children live. Longtime Muncie Teachers Association President Pat Kennedy feels Ball State would be in for a rude awakening, even when it has to deal with the poverty the children face on a daily basis.
I think the faculty, staff who work out in the buildings with the partnerships we have, student teaching, reading clubs, where college students come out and read with our students after school. Some of those programs, I think some of those folks have some understanding. They still aren't working with it 7 hours a day. And they aren't conferencing the parents who are afraid that theirs will be deported. They aren't seeing all of that on a day-to-day basis. Do I think above that, in the general population, the general faculty, staff at Ball State, do they understand that? I would say no. It's not their fault. They simply don't live it every day. Do the administrators know that? No, they don't live it every day. It takes time to prepare yourself.
What you'll find is that, unfortunately, there's different pressures and different things that affect the type of education that a child receives. And we have to address that. We have to make sure that education is equal that the opportunity to be educated is an equal opportunity for all students and families. So
students, when they leave school, they have to go to work, and they're providing income for the family. It isn't just money for them or things that they want to do. I mean, they literally are providing that for their family.
I believe one of our legislators in the House said, oh, well, poverty has no impact on education. I'm here to tell you every day it does. Every day I have someone talking about my dad's getting out of prison, my mom's getting out of prison, my mom went to prison, the police were at the house last night. If I ask the children, you know, do you have a bed? I would say probably 40% of them say no, they don't have a bed.
We do see these daily struggles. We know that we've got kids going home from school hungry, and that if we don't have great program partners to provide meals for some of these kids, they're probably going to go to bed hungry sometimes, which means they're going to get up hungry, but they're coming back to go to school.
Despite all the challenges, officials and teachers who work with these children every day say there are still lots of reasons to stay hopeful about Muncie schools.
This is my foundation. Even when I was away, always, you know, I didn't want to accept it, but I knew I would come back to Muncie.
I still believe in the staff that's here. I still believe in the administration team. I believe in our emergency management team. And I believe in our programs and what is still being offered. Even after all the hits we've taken, I still think that we offer the best education, well-rounded education for my children.
There are challenges, of course, and things kind of, you know, that are in the air, but I think that we are so focused on our program and our students and families that it's, that we are able to not be just kind of distracted by those things.
There's so much negativity out in the world, and we try to keep it as positive as possible. We always have a full class in this program, and feel very strongly that it's a great beginning for their future. I feel like I'm giving these kids something positive to grow on for the rest of their lives, so that's why.
It really helps you develop yourself as a person, having positive people around you. If somebody feels discouraged about oh, you can't braid, well, let me help you, teach you braid. It really helps you in the long run, yourself as a whole. I feel like it helps you a lot. Coming to here, knowing that the people that are here want to be here, you have to apply to be here, so you're not with people when you go to high school who just don't want to be there, and they don't, you know, it's different when you want to be somewhere and when you have to be somewhere.
You see these students come in on a daily. At the beginning of the year, a lot of these kids are just taking a class so they can get out of their homeschool. And in return, you build a relationship with these kids pretty quick, because it's like having a job. And when you have a job, you build relationships with your other employees, your bosses. So it's kind of the same thing. I'm the boss, they're the employees. So they definitely look up to me, and they look up to each other, the second year guys.
They're making such important life decisions as freshmen and sophomore in high school. Who are they going to hang around with? What are they going to do with their free time? Those things just set so many wheels in motion in their life. So I just love reaching them at that age and just giving them an alternative.
Our kids crave relationships sometimes, and while our teachers do their very, very best, a lot of times they really need that one-on-one or two-on-one opportunities, and they just love for someone to hear them and for someone to listen to them, or for someone to care about them and wonder, how was your day and how was your weekend? It's so good to see you. And they just feel important and they feel special. And when those volunteers walk through that door, there are some that have really picked up on that. One of the most important things that we can give a child is a relationship. And that's something that we've worked on as a staff here this year, is provide relationships and experiences for our kids to help them grow, you know, even beyond the academics.
But this year, as we closed buildings, we started to explore some opportunities for kids and some different options. We love Head Start classrooms to be in the public school setting. We did some research, talked to the state coordinators of Head Start, and came up with the idea that we could integrate Head Start children or preschool children in a high school setting. It's a really forward-thinking prospect. It really helps with community engagement, helps to get families part of your schools at a very early age. It's a great opportunity for high school students to be able to see children in a natural setting, as well as do some mentoring, as well as being able to have natural experiences through their child development classes, as well as interpersonal relations. And so I think it's a win-win for both sides. And then it gets our families in there to kind of be part of the little future Bearcat generation. So we're pretty happy to have them in the high school, and I think it's worked really well.
The dual language program is a Spanish immersion program. It's the first year here at Westview Elementary, and right now we're just doing kindergarten. Next year we'll do kindergarten and first grade, so it's a program that's building. Students spend 80% of their day receiving instruction in Spanish. So English portion of the day is just a small bit that helps them learn things that aren't explicitly taught in Spanish as far as reading goes. We bridge between the two languages, so they are also, it's a dual language program, so they're also acquiring English at the same time, and the goal is for them to be bilingual and biliterate. And so not by the end of kindergarten, but start the process, and then the program will build every year after that.
It's things that they are learning from us and I'm learning from them. So sentences that for them are polite, for me not. We manage like the part of the culture. I think that I learn from them and they learn from me.
I think one of the things that really comes to mind is how this is impacting our entire school's culture. For example, our music teacher is incorporating Spanish and Latin music into her curriculum just to support and to enhance the program for dual language kindergarten. Our art teacher is also doing the same thing as far as some of Latin influences like the Day of the Dead, other things that would incorporate culture. So I think that not only is it just the opportunity to have dual language and eventually have our students be bilingual and biliterate eventually, but also to help broaden their world view instead of just having the view of good old US of A.
We have to make sure that we are doing everything we can to provide resources to every family that we can as far as those formative years of that child. And that peer-to-peer mentorship, is important. Any program that I've worked with as far as youth programming, and some of my previous jobs have been working with teenagers and youth mentorship programs, I always made sure that I had a good senior mentor for every freshman. And that's why we do programs where we have juniors and seniors at Muncie Central guide our freshmen that first year. They become mentors to the freshman class.
When we give them somebody to talk to, when they're having the times of, man, I just really want to drop this program, because we've been through that, and we can give them the advice on, hey, I know it's really hard, but I promise you it gets easier. Like your third grading period, everything starts getting easier from there. So it's kind of a program that has definitely shaped me for who I am up until now.
Oh yeah, see, that information's already in there. Early college at Muncie Central began 4 years ago, the conversations. They knew they were going to do it because our first graduating class is going to be here in 2018. But the conversations and putting it into place happened back in 2014. So an early college program, wherever it is, it's to help get a certain cohort of students, a group of kids, to go through school. Now, ideally, you can hopefully complete a 1 or a 2-year degree, but even early college programs don't necessarily need to have a 1 or 2-year degree completed. Here at Muncie Central, we have students who will complete 2-year degrees. A giant handful will complete 1-year degrees. We study where you've been, where you want to go, and how you're going to get there. This year, one of the Lilly Scholars for Delaware County came from Muncie Central. and she was in early college. Kelby Stalling. She's a brilliant girl.
So I have the capstone engineering course, and then AP Econ, AP English, Literature, AP Calc, Wind Ensemble, so band, Independent Study, AP Physics, and then AP French.
You need to put the month and then...
Mr. Reichard's been a huge help, honestly. He's been a best friend. You know, he's a teacher when he needs to be, he's a leader when he needs to be, but he's also a best friend. He's somebody that you can go to and talk to, and you know, if you're having a problem in a class, he's really going to try to work with you the best that he possibly can. He started, you know, the whole mentor program. It was his idea, and that's given me a lot of really close friends. That's given me a lot of really great memories with a lot of great people. You know, we have bonfires and parties between ourselves.
Even though students at MCS are getting these opportunities, the problems still persist, and experts disagree on a solution.
What I see is a lot of good people that really want to make a difference in our community. Nobody can run away and hide from the challenges. We've all got them, but if you look where we were with the downturn in the auto manufacturing industry, the jobs that were lost, what that did to impact our quality of place in this community and to where we're at today in 2018. Muncie has came a long ways, and we've done a lot of it on our own. And it's by the community coming together.
I don't know the answers for pulling all of these families out of poverty. But if Ball State has all of the answers or has the answer for this solution, why haven't they been sharing across the city? Partnerships can be great. I think we could have great partnerships without being taken over.
For years, Ball State has been tied to the Muncie community. But now, in the search for solutions to Muncie's greatest problems, President Mearns says he's willing to put everything on the line to pursue what he believes is a moral imperative.
I think one of the elements of our plan, and one of the reasons that I'm fearful that we won't have this going forward, is we would have had the ability, based upon those innovative strategies, I believe, to leverage local investment, business investment, and philanthropic investment. Perhaps that will come in the future, but I believe it will only come if there's an innovative plan, a comprehensive, innovative, long-term plan. I don't believe the businesses and the philanthropic community are going to invest simply to shore up a struggling financial district.
He gets what happens when you have a community that is impoverished, and he knows what it takes. I think he does. I think he knows what it takes to be more compassionate and more understanding, and how to help in that situation. That's the chance of hope that we have. It's not just on him, but it's the people, it's the teachers that already have the relationships in the community. You've got schools within the context of learning. You've got different Ball State immersive learning groups that go out and help every year in the community. So yeah, I'm not worried.
The responsibility that we have, the moral obligation that we have to these children is far too important for us to be discouraged. If we can't be persistent and courageous in the face of this setback, how are we going to persuade those children who are facing more difficult circumstances to have hope for the future? We have to model that sense of optimism, that sense of resilience, that ability to overcome these setbacks in order to achieve the goal. So whether the goal will be achieved as a result of renewing the legislation or some other route, we're going to keep working to try to find ways to achieve that ultimate outcome.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to look at this group of young men that are up here and women that are up here today. These are parts of our great public school system in our community. Yeah, we can always stand around and we can look at the negatives, but look at these great kids up here today. The reason we're here today, these kids are our future. They're the reason all of you are here today.